the life on Zoom is what I wanted to talk to you about. And, you know, here we are, two people that we pride ourselves in our ability to go into places and talk and have interactions with humans less than 6 feet apart, no masks, hug, touch,
Yeah.
here, sit in this chair, here, try this out, here, eat these cookies. That's our life. That's what we do or
Right.
did. And then the pandemic, what the hell happened, right? The pandemic hit and we're done. It's off. And it's like, wait a minute, our companies still expect us to make sales and we're still expected to go out and see clients. And I got to believe it's not just you and me and the reps and the manufacturers, it's design firms, it's dealerships, it's everybody's been affected by this. And how in the world have we gotten here? We are a year later and we're still alive. We're still doing things, we're
Yeah.
still out there. We're still creating fun environments. And I just look at you and I knew that I wanted to talk to you about this because you have such a personality and just a cool demeanor. And, I know at some point you're going to say, I just don't care. I just, whatever. I just do it. I'm in, whatever. But, it's amazing to see the focus and the energy that you bring with us. So I guess
Mm,
I have no idea where this is going to go and how we
it's
want to do it,
okay.
but that's kind of the topic. And I know that whether it's personal life or business life, there's definitely two different aspects of this. And with the pandemic, it shut both of them down. So what have you done? What's going?
But really, Trevor, right? Like so that language, it shuts it down. Listen, my personal life and my business life didn't get shut down. I still have to go on living my
True,
life, right?
right?
So the
Yep.
language that we use is so important, right? Like it's just like, oh, what is this life going to be like now, right? Like what's this adventure that we're getting into? And okay, so how do we have to so I admire Trevor, right? Independent reps because you guys are commission only. So, right? Like I was
No
that.
expense accounts and
There's no
yep.
expense accounts. And what you guys do is huge, right? You've got those 4 kids with that locked pantry that you're still trying to like put food in for your kids, right?
Yep.
That's a
Yep.
big deal.
Right.
Um, and I'm on the manufacturer side, so it's a little different for me now. But I know what that felt like, being like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god,
you did
now
this,
what?"
right? You were a rep. I mean, give us a quick background on you. What's
So I went to school for psychology. I came out of it, right? What do you do with psychology? I don't know. I answered the phones. And somehow at some point somebody asked me to go be a salesperson, right? They were selling office supplies. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll go sell office supplies. Anyway, so pens and pencils and Han file cabinets. And then I stumbled on a job and I met a rep because I didn't know anything about this world. I met a rep and he helped me and taught me the industry a little bit. Like it happens, right? And then I met designers, then we did projects. And then I didn't like the dealer that I was working for anymore. And I left that dealership and I went to another one. And then I didn't like that one anymore. And then like life happened and I got out of the industry for a couple years. And then I came back and I was a rep and then this thing. So it's like all of it, right? But the rep thing is important, what you guys do.
to get out
So
there?
I loved
It's
it too. Like you guys right now in this world, you can still kind of get out and see people, right? Like you're sitting in an office someplace doing your bit, trying to create this thing. I've been sitting in this room for a year, right?
cool.
Like, oh my God. But it's not planes, trains, automobiles. It's not 3 o'clock in the
Yeah, you're
morning
not
for six
flying.
o'clock flight. It's different.
Right. You're not sitting at the airport hotel or the hotel bar or the airport lobby or whatever, and
No.
I mean,
No.
what's that
Oops,
behind
hold
you
on
there?
a
Is that
second. There's somebody here. Hold on.
uh-oh.
This is what happens. Hold on. Hello? Hi. Yeah, help yourself. Yeah, no worries. Okay, because I have a painter here and he left his sandwich in the refrigerator because this is what happens when I work from home.
Yeah, there you go, right?
Right? And so,
Well, and that's one of the funny things too. Don't I remember your cats were invading you too
oh,
in one of the
They were
Where are
coming
they?
in and out, and Punky was here, and then I had to put Punky down, and so
Oh,
you
no.
know, the B cat shows up, and I don't really like her so much, but now she's showing up again, and she's moved into the A cat role. So, you know, like our lives continue,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Our
Yep.
lives
Things must go
continue.
on.
Right. I
That they
mean, you
do.
have all your stuff. The kids are still growing up. They're still eating. Everything's still going on. And so how do we do this a little bit differently? And it was so funny, Trev, because I think that like when the COVID hit, I had that CEU thing that,
Mhm.
for a couple years, reps are saying, how do I get in front of design firms? We need CEUs. They want to do the lunch and learns. How do we create content? Like, okay, everybody wants to sell chairs, but like, how do we make it different, right? What's important to the specifiers? And okay, so I got a couple stories. When I first took this job, right, I can remember I was terrified because I was used to upstate New York, schlepping my little chairs around, doing it with my favorite family friends from the industry, right? So
Right.
I love that. It's your network of your people that become family. And then I got plucked out of that and I'm into this thing. Okay, get on a plane and get to LA and make sure you didn't lose your luggage and it's scary and then there's the technology work and oh my god, I don't know, do I have the adapter and they're all fancy and anyway. I can remember standing in front of that firm and saying, "So listen guys, I need to understand what makes you buy a chair." Right? Because I'm kind of new at this job and is it that you go on Pinterest or you Google, or is it the website, or is it the price point, or the aesthetics, or the images, or what is it that makes you buy a chair? And I'll never forget, it was like week one or week two for me, out selling. And they were like, no, it's about the rep and who returns the phone calls and brings the samples and shows up and takes care of the problems. Because we all know there's going to be problems. This is never
Mhm.
perfect, right? But
Always.
I don't want somebody who doesn't return my phone call when it starts to get difficult, right?
Right.
And I thought, wow, that's a lesson, right? That's a big lesson.
Write that
So,
down.
right,
Right.
right. So the rep is important. And so then what would happen is the reps are training, junior designers. They're right. So senior designers, if they like that rep, will bring them in and say, hey, make sure that you know Trevor and his lines, right? That they like vet you before they go ahead and work with other junior designers, whether it be at the dealer or at a design firm, right? Because if you're not responsive as a rep,
Yeah.
you're not getting passed through the system, right? So integrity matters, right? And it happens from the factory point of view too. If we didn't take care of issues and deal with warranty problems and respond to you and say, yes, we made mistakes and we're sorry and we'll take care of it. If we didn't do that, that integrity carries through too, right?
Absolutely.
So it's been really interesting, this transition. So I'm going to keep talking, okay? And then you can ask me the next
Winding
question.
you up here.
Winding me up. I'll go, right? So COVID hits. We had this CEU that we had kind of in the can about this crazy rebel misfit thing. And it
Yeah.
was in the
It's a great one.
can.
It is a good one.
It is a good, right? So
Yeah.
we had developed it in 2018 or something, and 2009. No, we developed, I don't know what year it was, the year before COVID, right?
Right.
So 2019, we launched it in January of 2020. And I'm starting, and we shut down on whatever Friday that was, right? In March. And actually, Betsy was in Michigan scheduled to do the CEU. And they shut down her appointments and said, no
Not doing it.
presenting. And she like went to the museum or something that day because everything got shut down
What
and she
else? Yeah.
came home, right? There was nothing else to do. So I had two girlfriend reps that I talked to that weekend and said, listen, what are we going to do? What do we do now? They're like, listen, ramp that thing up, get that CEU thing going. And so that kind of turned into it was my tool that was already in the can. It was
Right.
just timing, right?
Yep.
So it became a tool for, I didn't do it on a national level, right? I didn't say, oh, it's Tuesday, May 1st at 4 o'clock, and anybody in the country can come, because I wanted the reps to be able to connect with their customers on a one-to-one basis and use that as the venue, right? So we'll talk about change, and we'll talk about enneagrams and personalities and people, and how to do that, and how to connect, right? And how to think a little outside of the box, and disruption and change, and like, oh my God,
Perfect
now,
topic.
right?
Right.
It was,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about chairs at the end of it. So I don't know. It's funny because I'm developing another CEU right now. And Eric's like, so listen, Eric is the owner of Source, right? And he says, listen, Bethany, really? You're going to do another one? Do we know if this helps sell chairs? I'm like, I don't have a clue if it helps sell chairs.
Cheers or not, but
Or it doesn't matter, because this
yeah.
is really about people and relationships and connecting and doing this thing in a different way, right? And I don't know, I presented over 100 times this stupid CEU this last year. And sometimes it's square boxes, black boxes, nobody turns it on. And I like rattle on and on and
Does
on.
that drive you nuts though? Yeah, where you can't see the face and you get no reaction and you're just like blah 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 blah. Hello,
Well,
anybody? McFly,
well,
or
it's
Bueller.
really kind of funny because initially, like, I kind of took it personally, right? Like,
Like, come on, turn it on. I want to
turn
see
it
you.
on. But there have been, oh, you know what? Now I find it really liberating, because there are times when I'm presenting in a conference room. You know, Trevor, you're presenting in a conference room, and all of a sudden you got deer in headlights, and there's somebody staring at
Glazed.
their phone.
Yep.
And you're like,
Or
hello, I'm
passed out.
standing in front of you, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they
We're
shut
still
their
here.
screen off and I don't see it, so I don't care,
So you don't
right?
worry about it. Yeah. Good point. Good perspective.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it's almost like they can do it as a podcast. They can listen to me. They cannot listen to me. I don't know. Maybe you take something away from it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you think, oh, that crazy woman from Source, and she talks to herself and makes her own jokes, and, yells at the painter in the middle of it. I don't know, right? So I think that the more we become authentic with ourselves and comfortable with this dialogue and this venue and this kind of
Platform and
platform,
yeah.
then it's full on. Like, you get to know me as I am, right? And
Yep.
I'm open. Here's my calendar. You want to talk to me? Book yourself with me whenever you want. Listen to me, don't listen to me. I'm available, right? I think that
Yeah.
that's this thing about how can we be open to the process.
But have you noticed that impeding on any of your personal time, or is it's just truly it's in that balance that, you know, you've got different personal time, you've got different work times now because we're always going to be on. It's
Right. Well, so I cover the West Coast, so I cover the whole country, right? So sometimes I'm getting stuff at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, right? Like, what's the discount? Oh my God, right, blah blah. All right, here's the discount, and carry on. Or what I do is I leave this thing, right? I walk away from it,
just park it
because,
somewhere and yeah.
and that's my
Then you
boundary,
don't worry about it,
right?
right?
I
Yeah.
mean, and I can buy into the social media thing. Like, I run our Instagram account for now, right? So I can be sitting there doing this thing. And I'm like, what am I doing?
2 hours later, you're still, or at least 30, 40 minutes, and you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm still here. I mean, it's
Right.
amazing how quickly time can go. But, I think that's a big thing. And I love the social media that you do beautiful images and stuff like that. So I think there's a good balance that you've got to have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying seeing the creativity that's coming out of across the country, right? Like what you're doing, this is the first time that I've done this. This is awesome. I don't know what this turns into, right? But
Yeah, me neither, really.
who knows? But it's
Who
pretty
knows?
cool,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think that I started to use Zoom as doing, like, I started to realize that I could record our meetings, right? And then I
Yes.
thought, oh my God, I can just take our presentations and record myself. And here's, 60 seconds on whatever product this is, right? And maybe people want to watch it, maybe they don't. Maybe they listen to it on YouTube, maybe they don't. I mean, even talking to you guys, I started to realize people are doing these webinars, right? Like I know factories are saying, "Hey, we're doing these webinars. You got to get on once a month for an hour and listen to what the update is." Really? You guys have like 10 lines and you got to get on those things and listen to the blah blah blah. I don't mean that. You might have to edit that out, right? About but I would
Yeah.
much rather sit.
Radio edit.
Right. I would much rather sit here and make a video for you that's on YouTube and you're driving and you push play and you can listen to me like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what's going on. It's 5 minutes. Who cares? Right. Thank you. Now I know what's going on at source.
Right.
I don't know.
Which, by the way, good time to plug this is that these podcasts here will be podcasts. So we'll have
Yeah.
the video images uploaded onto YouTube and a couple other platforms there. And then there are also podcast versions. So the Apple, just the audio will be available as podcast too. So I love what you're saying. I mean, it's like you give the people their choice of when to watch it. It's not a force feed type of thing. It's not, you have to be here and listen to me for an hour. It's, hey, here's an option. You know what? Watch 5 minutes of it. If it doesn't resonate, or 2 minutes, then don't watch it, or wait. Oh, life happened. You got to go get the painter a sandwich and that type of thing. So hit pause and come back to it later. It's like, and the edit thing, like, funny story. I like talking about this because, like, here my phone has been blowing up. Gosh, love my mom. I texted her. I hadn't texted her yesterday, and she sent me two things: a painting she did and something else, and I didn't text her back. And I texted her a minute ago, and now it's like rapid fire, ding, ding, ding. So you're probably hearing the vibrating on the desk and everything right now. But I'm like, stop, and it's like, so there's got to be funny stories too about, like, your painter popping in a minute
Sure.
ago. And like, my wife was on a Zoom call and one of the women on the background said, she answers her phone and she's like, hello, I'm on the Zoom, and everybody's like, mute, hit mute, hit mute, and she wasn't muted, and so everybody's hearing her talk on her phone.
Right.
And like, but so I guess what I'm saying is, Saturday Night Live's the highlight reel, right, of 2020, and these Zoom and these interactions like this has got to be amazing. I mean, I'm sure there's some real gems.
Well, you've seen them, haven't you, on the YouTube where the woman has her laptop and she's carrying it with her. She never shut the video off and she takes it with her
Oh,
into the bathroom. Right? I'm like, oh, that's too bad.
oh
Or it's
boy.
her phone or whatever, right?
Yep.
Oops.
Whoopsie.
So I
Yep.
think that,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of just makes things personal, right? Like,
Sure.
listen,
Yep.
it's just
Hey, it's
real.
life. It's
It's
real.
life. And
Yep.
so it's
Nobody's perfect.
funny and it's real. And so don't take it so seriously. Carry on, right?
Carry on. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, we're doing this next CEU and I'm just plugging this because
Yeah.
I'm
Tell me
just
more.
gonna talk.
Yeah.
So the next one that we're creating is I'm studying and researching about like different pandemics in history and what comes out of it afterwards.
Interesting.
So, like there was the Black Plague,
Right.
or the Black Death, and it was
Black
called
Death.
the bubonic plague. And after that came the Renaissance ages, right? So out of that comes Michelangelo and Da Vinci and Galileo and looking out into the universe. And then it's also the Renaissance exploration. You've got Columbus and Ponce de Leon and Magellan, and they're like leaving Europe, exploring
Exploring everything.
other
Yep.
parts of the world, right? The world is no longer
Right.
flat, right?
Yep.
So that happened during the Renaissance, right? Now it's a whole different scale because the bubonic plague killed like a third of the population of Europe. A third, right? Over like 4 years. So it's a whole different scale, right? But
Right.
it led to a lot of isolation and everybody was kind of quarantining on their own. They stopped trade so that things weren't moving. So there was a lot of, and a lot of people are studying this. I'm going to just do it at this high level thing, but
Hmm.
looking at what happens from the art and the artistic piece and the creativity afterwards.
It
And so
exploded.
yeah, it exploded,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So even to think about now, like, so I'm digging into what's the definition of creativity. And really, I was like, oh, it's transitioning, what's trans that's not the right word. Transitioning traditional thoughts, right?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
so outside of is creativity, right? So any
Right.
platform, I always think of creative as painting or cooking or whatever.
Art type of stuff, right?
Yeah, but really, like now the creativity is coming with this technology piece. And even when you look at that new show that's going on, that Van Gogh immersion art piece, there
Hmm.
it's going around the country, right? I think that it started, I
Okay.
don't know where it started, but it's immersion art and it's experiential art is happening. And there was a big article about it in the New York Times, and there's a lot of different pieces that are coming out of this. So the architecture, the art, the creativity, and then what we're going to talk about is designers and their mental health. Not the mental health of the occupants in the spaces, because that's what everybody's designing for now. That you need to be mobile and you got to create the spaces. Well, what about the mental health of the designers that are creating
That
those
are doing it.
spaces?
Who's thinking about that, right?
Right, because they've all been in isolation, and some of them really work well in that venue, right? But um what about the mental health of the people that are the creatives in our industry? And then how can we help them, give them additional ideas or dreams about what could be different? So then I'll kind of look at the fourth learning objective will be about the future and optimism, and maybe not dreaming about the next 10 years, right? The post COVID years, but what about the next 100 years?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? Like,
Right.
so I really like to push that thing about not just the time frame, the time, but the history, where we are now and into the future. And it doesn't have to be just a 20-year gap or a 30-year gap or our lifetime gap. It could be this generational thing about
Sure.
what's the world turning into in a
Becoming.
long
Yeah.
term.
And will be long term. Right.
Because this could be just what we're doing right now. I mean, I talked to a colleague of mine, and I said yesterday she's traveled more than I did. I'm like, "Are you going to travel again?" She said, "I'm not traveling. Nope, not doing it."
She's done.
She's like, "Why can't I do this?"
Well, it
Right?
makes sense, right? I mean, hey, you wake up, we have to be clean from here up, the camera
Right.
lens up. And you know what? After this, maybe you're going out the garden or you're going shopping or you've got something else or you got the kids or the dogs or whatever. And so you have more flexibility with your own time. Thinking about, going into the future, it's just you can't but wonder, what we're doing this from Columbus to New York. What if one day we're doing this from Columbus to Mars or somewhere else, the moon or something like that? I mean, how cool would that be too?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The technology and just that what's next and where's the future coming, and
Well,
that's
even, so side note, right? Like this is Philippe Stark. I love
yeah,
researching this stuff.
yeah.
I really do.
He's
Like
really
I
cool,
get
really
into it.
cool. Yeah.
So Philippe Stark he worked with Cartel and Autodesk. And
Okay.
his goal, he's a really interesting character. His goal was to create a chair with the least amount of materials, and the least amount of materials and still the highest design. So they created an artificially intelligent chair, right? So that Autodesk that does AutoCAD and stuff put together
Right.
the parameters. He probably put the scale, the size, the shapes, all those things, and out it spit a chair. And no brain power was involved in setting that up. So you can buy that chair now. It's called
Really?
AI, and it's
AI.
yeah, and it is manufactured by Cartel, right? So no one designed it. No
Interesting.
one designed the chair.
It was a computer program just to spit out, just a
Right. So
parameter
I
driven.
find it fascinating, the designers like Bjarke Ingels, that dude from Denmark, right?
Hmm.
He was a Minecraft guy, right? Like the video, I'm not a gamer, but he was a Minecraft.
Seriously, the game that I'm yelling at my kids to get off of all the
Yes.
time, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like, that's where his creativity starts, right? Like, within these
Wow.
video games, and they have interior design packages. I mean, the young designers are probably doing this all day. So this
All day
merging
long.
of video gaming and our technology that we're seeing with fly-throughs and CET and Auto Max
Totally.
3D or whatever
3D
those
renderings,
the
yep,
renderings, like all of that merge is huge, right?
absolutely.
But does that take away? So the designers are doing the creativity. The end users don't have to use their imagination anymore.
They can visualize it, they can see it because it's right in front of them, it's on a computer or a
Right.
printout or whatever, right?
Right. I don't
Yeah.
want that though in blue. I want it in green. Okay, green.
Fine, click, hit the button, and boom, it's green.
Right. I mean, that was never anything that I had, coming up in this
You're like,
industry.
"Hold on, let me run down to the car and get the green one, and
Yeah.
I'll run back up the street."
Here's the swatch. Wait a second. I don't have it with me.
Let's lay this over here, and we can put that there, and yeah.
Right, I'll mail it to you, right? And it's just hard, right? Or so it's really interesting to be thinking about where the industry will go, right, out of this. Of course, the whole work from home thing scares everybody like me to death. Like, if nobody's working in offices anymore, are they buying furniture? I don't know, right?
Right.
And there's so many people studying this part of it. I have zero, right? Like, you can all day long research that, and I don't know what it turns into. I'm not that smart, right? But I'm hoping people are still using chairs someday.
You think they will, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that because the productivity studies, right, they're back and forth, nobody knows. But I know people that are absolutely mortified to go back to the office, not because of contagions or catching anything, but they just feel like they're more productive in their home environment where, they can get everything done or be on call, and they're just more of a mobile worker. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, I look at it as a rep. This has been our life. It's
Mm.
like my office is my truck, right? My vehicle, and
Oh, that's great.
that's I'm on the road. So it's
Right.
like I'm used to being mobile and not planted, and quite frankly, enjoy that ability. But there's many people that love that as probably don't love that, right? And they need that work environment. And let's face it, I mean, we get that reprieve when we go into a design firm or a
Mm.
dealership, and we're able to interact with people and we see it. So we get that portion of it. And then we can go back to our vehicle or our home office where we can get our solitude. But, some people need that constant, purposeful interaction and that
Yeah.
engagement that we're lacking right now, which probably goes into that wellness category that you were talking about earlier
Right.
with
Well, and
people.
I think that this thing has the Zoom or these things, it has that way of connecting. Like, I'm finding that I'm connecting a little bit more with people, right? I get to do this, right? And then, like earlier this morning I was in Chicago, and then I was in like Phoenix, and now I'm in Columbus, and I'm like, "Oh, all right, great.
Oh,
Who's
cool.
next?"
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And but the kicker becomes, I love that energy of being with people, right? Like, I feed off that. So I'm trying to get as much of it as I can out of this. But
As
I,
soon as you unplug,
yeah.
then what? Then it's like, okay.
Yeah, now I'm in my spare bedroom. Like, what am I doing now?
Well,
Right?
yeah, yeah, we're right. You're going to tear up another room and start another construction project or renovation project,
Start
right? I mean,
another,
that's
because I get, that's where my joy comes from. So it's been really this really introspective piece about what brings you joy, right? You have to kind of focus on that right now, right? And there's that Marie Kondo thing, that decluttering thing, and her sentence was, going through your closet, does it bring me joy? Does it bring touch it? Does it bring me joy? Yes, no. No,
yep,
gone, right?
out of here, gone. Yep,
Simplify it. It's gone.
yep,
It's gone. What do we need? What do we not need? Right. And
right.
um, it's so easy right now with the Amazon bit about like, oh, I need that. I need that. I need that. It shows up. It shows up. It
Purchase,
shows
purchase.
up.
Yeah, I'll have it tomorrow. Perfect. Oh, and
Right.
I can free returns. But do you ever return it? No, it sits in a
No,
pile in the garage.
no.
Yeah,
So it's really, how much do we need, right?
True.
And
Or
so
and how much of what do we need, right?
how much of what do we need, right? So it always, to me, Trev, brings it back to like the people in my life and what's important to me,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know,
Very
for
well.
whatever reason, and I don't know, I appreciate you saying that I bring good energy to this thing. And I don't know if this matters or not, but I've had my training, right? Like, so I've done my cancer bit twice, right? In seclusion, in, the rooms, off by yourself, in the little whatever it is. And this was kind of the same. I can remember when COVID hit, there was this panic. It was this thing, right? Like, oh my
Yep.
God, it was
Oh,
just,
no.
oh, and I think that the word that resonated the most to me was like, it's so chaotic, right? Like, what do we do with this? It's surprising, it's shocking. We're not ready. We weren't ready for it, and we didn't know what to do with our isolation, right?
Right.
And I can remember thinking, this is like the whole world just got told that they have cancer and they don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh, I can remember thinking, I said it to one rep. I'm like, oh, the word that I learned, through my processes was patience, right? You just got to be patient. We can't make things happen. We can't make it. We can't control this. It's
Can't control it.
beyond.
Can't make it go away.
We can't
You
make
just
it
gotta
go away. And
wait it out.
so, okay, so what are we going to do instead? Right? Like,
Mhm.
all right, next. And so
Yep.
I think that there's like the word that, there's so many words: resilience, flexibility. And I'm like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah.
You
All
don't
right.
you're like, "I'm done." Yeah,
I
I'm
know,
done with all those
we
books.
got to get
Get
back
rid of it.
to normal. I'm like, normal, you might as
What
well
the
just
hell's
can
normal?
it because it doesn't exist anymore. It's all limiting. Like, you might as well come up with just different words and have fun while you're doing it because TikTok, it's still going on, right?
Time's still moving. Yep. Right.
TikTok, you might as well try making a TikTok video, which I am never going to do. I tried. It doesn't work, right? I tried being that dancer. I've spent a lot of hours watching them dance. I'm not getting
Can't do
there.
it. Oh, come on, I'd like to see you try. That would be fun.
I have tried. I've got it. You don't want to see it. It's
Oh,
not
it's
good.
not yeah. It's not
So
getting published, is it?
it's not getting good. But
Nice.
so I don't know, Trev. What are some of the things that you need? I mean, like, what are you seeing in your world that's important?
Well, it's family. It's the
Mm,
people that you're close by. It's friends. It's still connectivity.
yeah,
As much as people want to complain about Zoom, I think, and virtual presence like this and the technology, I think it's beneficial. I mean, just like we're talking here today, and you like you said, you've probably had 4 or 5 other calls all around the world or country, today doing this, and it's almost like too bad we can't get a sticker. And you get like, remember, you'd have the pennies and you put it in the state, or
yeah,
the quarter,
yeah.
whatever stamps, and you get that, and it's like we need a Zoom book, it's got each state that we've been in
Yeah.
or city, but
You could have it
it's
for
like,
your territory, Trev. I don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt you, right? Like, you
there you
could have your
go.
territory and have it be like each city, where are you
Where
today?
are you? Yeah, and get a pin in it, and I get to put that in there, and yeah. So, but in like you said, and then creativity. I love that aspect. It's like thinking outside of our standard. We're programmed to do this, and this is how we've done it forever, and this is. But guess what? Roadblock. Now we got to circumvent it and go around. And who can get to the other side or over the top? It doesn't matter how you do it, but just that you do it, right? And just that you
Right,
get there.
right.
So I
And
love it.
there's so
Yeah, it's
many different ideas floating around right now. Like, I had talked to somebody yesterday about showrooms, right? And I'm like, about rep showrooms and dealer showrooms, and how important are they, and are people using them, and are they going to come out and see things? And so I started thinking, all right, what is this going to be, right? Like, if people are putting up a new building, right? Or if a designer is doing the new building, how many showrooms are they going to go visit, right? Are they going to do the tours anymore?
right.
What makes it valuable? Are the dealers, how does this all work together, right? And I love seeing that stuff in the back. I love seeing that green furniture and the light fixture and
There
so
should be some source
is
back
there
there
some
too,
swords
Bethany.
back there too? I don't know. Whose is that?
There's a That's a plain table and a lure, and,
Oh,
I think a martini's
oh,
over there somewhere too.
the martini chair is way in the corner. Now I see
Oh, it's in the
it.
corner.
But so
We
listen,
can't reach the camera, but
yeah,
yeah.
I
We
get
tried.
it. So
We tried.
it's fun though to think about, right? Like the I'm gonna tell you another story. I had a rep council. I had like 3 or 4 reps into the factory one time. And I wanted to just kind of like pick their brain. Where do you guys want us to go? What do you want us to be doing? And and so I listed that story, from LA about what's important, the rep,
Mhm.
right? Price, aesthetic, and all that stuff. And they said to me, Bethany, don't forget, it's got to be comfortable. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's got to be
Whoops.
comfortable on the list,
I
right?
didn't say that?
I didn't say that, right? And so, meanwhile, I think that the interesting part about chairs is that you can't understand comfort unless you sit in it.
Sit in it.
Right? That's the only piece, right? Workstations you can design and reconfigure and get the finishes and all that stuff. But you're never going to know if a chair is comfortable unless you actually sit in it. So there's that will never go away.
Right.
That will never go away.
So true. So true.
So there's job security for you with that, Trevor.
Yes.
Delivering samples.
Yes.
Make sure they're comfortable.
Gotta make sure they're comfortable, gotta test them. Well, that's huge because like you said in the beginning of the talk here is, hey, with 4 boys at home and I gotta keep that lock on the pantry, because
Right.
otherwise they'll eat me out of house and home. And, they nibble on the furniture when I don't feed them enough. So then I gotta buy new fabric and all that and reupholster them because it keeps
Right.
our friends here at Fortner in business with the reupholstering that
It's
we'll need.
great.
But
Well,
yeah,
I
so
think that must be I don't know if I ever told you, when I was a rep, I had a colleague that was an upholstery shop. And
really,
I worked a lot with her about, standards programs or wherever I had relationships and having pieces reupholstered on a regular basis, and it was a value add, right? For what you're
totally,
doing. I don't know,
absolutely.
one of the things that she did, and I don't know if you've had this come up or not, she reupholstered exam tables.
Interesting.
So for healthcare, right?
Yeah.
Because do you do those? You ever
We've
do?
done some dental chairs, and I'm sure they've done other hospital tables and like doctor's office
Yeah, right. Those
exam tables
exam
and stuff. Yeah,
tables that have
yeah,
vinyl,
mhm.
and they always get, sometimes they're not supposed
Yeah.
to
They
get
get
wrapped.
because of the cleaners and the harsh
Right,
chemicals and everything they're putting on it. Right?
right, right,
It
right,
wears out.
right.
So yeah,
So
they do that. But
that's fun to have somebody like that in your back pocket too.
yeah. Well, and it's awesome. We've got a wonderful space here. It's fun, like you're saying, is what's creative and what's new and what's different. And the group that this TOTE collab that we've
Mm.
created here and brought together like-minded reps that are from non-competing industries. And
Yeah.
and the reality is we have a beautiful space and it's open, it's COVID friendly. So
Mhm.
we can bring them and we'll do virtual tours as well as in person. Obviously, we like the in-person happy hours,
Yeah.
especially. And
Oh, that's so
but
fun. You're doing that now?
yeah,
You're doing the
yeah.
happy hours?
Yep. Yeah. So, and then lunches and, yeah, so it's just great. There's about 4,000 square feet of space in this area. So, it gives us tons of room to stay spread out, but yet everybody can see new things. And let's face it. I mean, like you said, they want to test a chair. They want to sit in it. They want to see what's new, what's hot, what's going on. So we're able to provide that, but
How
we'll
often
have
are
to,
you doing that? Are you doing that, like, are you opening it up once a month, or how often are you
yeah, so it's once a month. Getting ready to change the hours, so it's going to probably be a rotating schedule. So each month will be a different day
Mhm.
because we were finding out great feedback, but we found out that a lot of times if it was a set day every day of the month, that people can't make that day. They have a standing obligation or meeting.
Mhm.
So now we need to rotate the days through so that we can get other folks into the space.
Mm.
And then obviously they can set up anytime by appointment to swing by. But yeah, once a month, once a week it will be staffed, and people can just
Great.
walk in and or set up a time
It's great. And I'm assuming that you have a coffee machine there.
somewhere.
Do people come in and work there? Do you use
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as a
actually,
co-working
yeah.
space too?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm,
so I believe we're going to be kind of transitioning this space upstairs, which will be even a larger space and really promote co-working from other tenants within the building.
nice.
There'll be our designated times that will be strictly for, reps, for designers, dealership folks to come in. But then the rest of the time, the other days of the week, it will be totally open to whoever and they can sit there and work, and there's Wi-Fi, and promote the building unity and knowledge of other tenants. So
Yeah. That's good, right?
yeah,
That
yeah,
feels nice to be able to create something like that's very creative. You're creating a space that's going to allow for idea starters to percolate, right?
yep,
And you
and
have all
interaction.
of it everywhere. You have all of the products and the samples and everything anyway. So why not use it? And it's
Use
like
it
that
and
sharing
benefit.
economy, right? Like I've got it. Let's share it, and let's see what happens with it.
Right,
Hmm.
totally.
It's good stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what's good stuff is this talk. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. This is
Oh, was
really
that
awesome.
good?
It was great.